like to say great day to the viewing audience. Welcome to Walking in the Spirit. I am Dr. Stephon Williams, and I will be your host for today's program. We're going to begin a new series entitled EUNUCHISM, Sterility, Virginity, and Senility. And those of you that are viewing this broadcast today, I would like for you to get out your Bibles, your notebooks, your pens, your pencils, your highlighters, and study with us. Let's get into this new series. It says, EUNUCHISM, sterility, virginity, and senility are terms which are not well understood by most laymen. In the spiritual meaning of these conditions are mentioned more or less frequently in the Holy Bible. We shall define each term and then deal separately and briefly with each one, and impart the spiritual meaning as we proceed. EUNUCHISM, a condition in which the testes or ovaries are completely functionless due to faulty congenital development, or are absent due to surgery, castration, or are severely damaged by accident or injury. Get right here just for the sake of just trying to get close as we can for the pictorial and go along with the verbal. Okay? You zoom in right here, get as close as you can for this, just only. Once again, EUNUCHISM, a condition in which the testes or ovaries are completely functionless due to faulty congenital development, or are absent due to surgery, castration, or are severely damaged by accident or injury. I just point down here for the sake of, understanding. We're going to put male and female here, okay? It says, persons so afflicted do not have the desire or the ability to perform the sex act. Neither can they produce offspring. This is a permanent state, okay? Sterility, the condition of being unable to produce offspring due to some disease, defect, abnormality, or other condition of the reproductive organs. It may or may not be a permanent condition, and there is usually no impairment of the desire or the ability to perform the sex act. A sterile person may not be a eunuch, but a eunuch is always sterile, okay? Virginity, a condition in which one has never engaged in sexual intercourse and consequently has never borne children. This condition does not necessarily imply an absence of sexual desire or the ability to perform the sex act. Senility, a condition of aging in which one loses his physical and mental powers of performance even though the organs are still present. So we're going to just use the head cavity here for physical and mental powers. The vigor and stamina are gone, and weakness and infirmity prevail. Such persons usually lack the desire or ability to perform the sex act. We shall now turn our attention to a discussion of eunuchism. The Mosaic Law contained a reference to eunuchs thusly. And you can zoom here for the viewers here. It says here, Mosaic Law, okay? Which occurred in the third age, post-Diluvian age. Post-Diluvian age just simply means after the flood. Age is synonymous to world. And age synonymous to world is approximately 2,000 years, okay? So it says here, Mosaic Law. Once again, we should now turn our attention to a discussion of eunuchism. The Mosaic Law contained a reference to eunuchs. Thusly, he that is wounded in the stones, testes, or has his privy member penis cut off shall not enter the congregation of Yahweh. Get it back on the body there. Just zoom right in. Close you can. I need reader for the viewers, please. Deuteronomy, the 3rd chapter, verse 1.
Deuteronomy 23:1. Deuteronomy 23:1 out of the Holy Name Bible. He that is wounded in the stones or has his privacy members cut off shall not enter into the congregation of Yahweh.
Thank you. I need you to read that one more time for the viewers and speak up a little louder for the viewers, please.
Okay, Deuteronomy 23:1 out of the Holy Name Bible. He that is wounded in the stones or hath his privy members cut off shall not enter into the congregation of Yahweh.
Thank you, reader. It said now, shall not enter into the congregation of Yahweh. Now we understand that, we understand that the first congregation was right here at the bottom portion of Mount Sinai. See, the very first congregation, according to Exodus, the 19th chapter. Okay. Thank you, reader, for that. Get it back on there. Zoom close as you can. Just try to get that in. Nothing else on the side. Don't miss nothing out of it. It says, this law thus excluded the eunuchs who were not able to produce offspring from being a part of the congregation of Israel. They were the outcasts and were cruelly ostracized, and their shame followed them wherever they went. The statue, however, was just one for Yahweh had promised Abraham that he would multiply his seed as the dust of the earth and as the stars of heaven. I need you to get right here for the viewers. Just get a pictorial illustration here of Abraham. Now it says on this chart here, this portion of this chart is entitled Chart on Pattern or Plan of Salvation. Now right here on this, it says here, the heading says Abraham and King Melchizedek, right here. You see it says right here, Abrahamic promise. So this is a pictorial illustration of Abraham here. And here's a pictorial illustration of Abraham here. And there's a pictorial illustration of Abraham here. So we want to focus on these three places as of this moment here. I don't want nothing missing out of this frame here. I need read for the viewers, please. Genesis, the 13th chapter, and verse 16, please.
Genesis 13 and 16 from the Holy Name Bible. And I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed also be numbered.
Thank you, reader. I need also read for the viewers, please. Genesis, the 15th chapter, and verse 5, please.
Genesis 15 and 5 from the Holy Name Bible. And he brought him forth abroad and said, Look now towards heaven, and count the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, So shall thy seed be.
Thank you, reader. So we understand that the stars, let me say it like this, that the stars that you see up in the firmament, I'll say it like that, or up in the sky, are innumerable. No man on this planet Earth are able to count every star. There are innumerable. Okay? And just like the sand on the seashore, there's sand on seashores all over the world. You cannot count every grain of sand. It's an innumerable amount. So that's what Yahweh is saying, or is speaking of Abraham. Okay, just like that. That's how many is going to come, starting here, and just as generation go on. The multiplication of that seed, okay? That promised seed, all right? Thank you, reader, for that. Leave it there. It says, get here. Just where my pointer is. Zoom in right here for the viewers. It says right here, Melchizedek priesthood, Abrahamic promise. 430 years before the Mosaic Law. And we just spoke about the Mosaic Law. Follow? We spoke about the Mosaic Law a few minutes ago, okay? And I want you to get right back up here. You hear my pointer is, I want you to get all of that. Let me know. All right, it says now, 70 souls of the posterity of Jacob went down into Egypt and multiplied them to over 600,000 souls. So we understand that Abraham was the father of many nations. Abraham bore Isaac, and then Isaac bore Jacob, okay? So it said 70 souls from Jacob, and we understand that Jacob's name was changed to Israel, but that's for another story. But it says now Jacob, it says 70 souls of the posterity of Jacob started out here in Canaan's land, went on down into 70 souls of the posterity of Jacob went down to Egypt, and Yahweh multiplied, it says Egypt here, see, multiplied them to over 600,000 souls in the space of about 400 years. Okay. I need read for the viewers, please. Exodus, the 1st chapter, and verse 5.
Exodus 1 and 5 from the Holy Name Bible. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt.
Thank you, reader. I need also read, reader, please. Exodus, the 12th chapter, and verse 37.
Exodus 12 and 37 out of the Holy Name Bible. And the children of Israel journeyed from Rameses to Sackcloth, about 600,000 on foot that were men, besides children.
Thank you, reader. I'd like to say to the viewers that are viewing this class video, every chapter and verse that I call out, I ask that you, in your study time, read the whole chapter. Okay? Thank you, reader, for that. It says, now likewise they continue to multiply. So we understand that the children of Israel started, multiplying and came up out of Egypt. It says Israelites and Pharaoh in Egypt. So it's focused on the Israelites right now. Came up out of Egypt into the wilderness, it says wilderness of Sinai, and multiplied out here in the wilderness of Sinai. So it says now, likewise they continue to multiply in the wilderness of Sinai, meaning the children of Israel, and in to Canaan's land. It says here Canaan land. So they started out in Canaan's land, the seed came down, started multiplying, and then it started the journey here, came on down and started a journey back to where it started, okay? So it said, likewise, that they continue to multiply in the wilderness of Sinai and in Canaan. It says Canaan land here, also called the Promised Land. I need read for the viewers, please. Deuteronomy 7 and 13, please.
Deuteronomy 7 and 13 from the Holy Name Bible. And he will love them and bless them and multiply thee. He will also bless the fruit of the womb and the fruit of thy land, thy corn and thy wine, thy oil, the increase of the kin and the flocks of thy sheep, and the land which he swore unto the fathers to give thee.
Thank you, reader. It says, hence, one can readily see that a eunuch who could not take part in this great reproduction would be of no usefulness in this wise. And furthermore, since the eunuchs could not have or produce children, there was no need for them to be in the congregation trying to tell someone else how to raise their children. Okay? It says, these eunuchs were not alone. However, in being outcast or being separated from the congregation of Israel, under the Mosaic dispensation, here, see, because it says here dispensations, under the Mosaic dispensation here, in being outcast or being separated from the congregation of Israel under the Mosaic dispensation, for the Gentiles were also considered as dogs or outcasts, and so were the lepers. Now you see down here, follow. Now you see down here, follow. You see down here, it says here, Gentiles, here on this chart here. Down here, in Cornelius' house, according to Acts 10. And it says here, Cornelius, okay, in the land of Caesarea, okay. That's for another story, but just wanted to just point that out, a picture illustration of the Gentiles there, okay. Once again, these eunuchs were not alone. However, in being outcast or being separated from the congregation of Israel under the Mosaic dispensation, see, for the Gentiles were also considered as dogs or outcasts, and so were the lepers. I need read for the viewers, please. Exodus 11 and 7, please.
Exodus 11 and 7 from the Holy Name Bible. But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that ye may know how that Yahweh doeth distinguish between the Egyptians and Israel.
Thank you, reader. And he also read, reader, please, Isaiah, the 56th chapter, verse 9 through 11.
Isaiah 56, 9 through 11 out of the Holy Name Bible. And thou wouldest, and ye the beasts of the field came to devour ye all ye beasts of the forest. His watchman was blind, they were all ignorant. They are all dumb dogs. They cannot bark, sleeping, laying down, loving to slumber. Yea, they are greedy dogs, which can never have enough. And they are the shepherds that cannot understand. They all look to their own way, every one of his game, from all quarters.
Thank you, reader. I need read for the viewers, please, Leviticus 13, verses 44 through the 46th verse, please.
Leviticus 13, 44, 45, and 46 from the Holy Name Bible. And he is leprous man. He is unclean. The priest shall pronounce him utterly unclean. His plague is in his head. And the leper in whom the plague is, the clothes shall be rent, and his head bare. And he shall put a covering upon his upper lip, and it shall cry, unclean, unclean. All the days wherein the plague shall be in him, he shall be defiled. He is unclean. He shall dwell alone. Without the camp shall he inhabited be. Habitation.
According to the purpose and plan of Yahweh, however, these Israelites under the Mosaic law under the Mosaic dispensation were not the real Israel of Yahweh, as the Apostle Paul stated. For they are not all Israel which are of Israel. And that's according to Romans, the 9th chapter, and verse 6. Yahweh had purposed to graft the Gentiles into the body of the Messiah, church or congregation or assembly. So down over here, follow. So down over here, you said the Gentiles right here. So the Gentiles was grafted in, see, to the body, see, of one Yahshua, the Messiah. He is the true congregation himself. He is the true assembly, and he's the head of the assembly, not the building or edifices on these corners. Okay? Once again, Yahweh had purpose to graft the Gentiles into the body of the Messiah, church or congregation or assembly by faith. Likewise, he had purpose to include the eunuchs into the spiritual congregation or body. See, Yahweh also included, see. the eunuchs also into his body. Okay? Into the spiritual congregation or body as he spoke through the mouth of the prophet Isaiah thusly, neither let the son of the stranger Gentile that has joined himself to Yahweh speak, saying, Yahweh hath utterly separated me from his people, neither let the eunuch say, behold, I am a dry tree. And that will conclude this week's series. Until we meet again next week, I'd like to leave you with these few words. Righteousness, peace, and joy in the precious kingdom of Yahweh Elohim, Yahshua Messiah. Hallelujah.